10 o'clock. All right, welcome to the public transportation meeting. I guess our primary agenda is to talk about the Pro Park extension. If we have some leftover time, we could check in on a few other things. Should I just give like a basic history rundown of where we're at? So we started the program. This would be next year would be the third, would basically be like the third year.
The start of the third
year. I think what we've seen, I think like a fair amount of success. If you think about the extended hours as its own route, it doesn't have as the main hours, but it gets significantly more riders per mile than the other routes that we have. It was initially sort of started with Spark of Hudson or Utopia, sort of covering the 100% of the costs. I think this year, in our second year, they moved it down to about half of the costs, and they've offered to cover, I guess it's probably close to a third of the cost for next year.
Yeah, give or take. What is the quote? So that's on the bottom of the other sheet. The contract for starting in March of 25 for a 12-month contract is $275,000. They've raised their price to 4%, 2%.
They raised it for 4%. So it's going from $12.75 per mile to $13.25 per mile.
So just as Johnston, we pay $4 a mile. But that's because they're using our buses. And we pay, when they have to use one of their buses, we pay them $4.50 a mile. This will be
This will go up to $13.25 a mile.
So significantly more. Certainly, I would wish we could get the Johnson prices for the extended hours. The piece that's not on the shop and shuttle cost down here at the bottom is the federal funding.
Our 5311 has not increased. It was on our application. We still got the flat 82 grand that we've been getting.
Oh, really? They're not giving us
nothing increased.
Okay.
We didn't get anything more.
Interesting. Okay. I thought they just gave us half of our cost.
So did I. They don't, because it was on our application. I was
Yeah.
expecting a bigger award, and it was the same.
Oh, that's
Disappointing.
yeah.
So we don't get anything extra from the feds for doing this. I thought this was.
And the only thing actually we do get reimbursed for mileage and so, but that's, you get $1 something a mile and 68 cents a passenger or whatever it is, and so it's not really helping out. Did we ever lobby for more?
Yeah, we should ask
I
that.
mean, I don't know about lobbying, but I know I talked to our, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So we have like an application that we as a part of like our 3-year plan.
Yeah.
But they basically were just like, we're just going to keep your funding flat.
I think we went from, I think in the last, it was 78,000, then it went to 80, now it's at 82. So I think they gave us a couple grand every year to, but it didn't increase because of the increased mileage or riders or anything.
Interesting.
This is plus a little bit.
It's not even that.
Yeah. And I guess I wonder if there is like a person to talk to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that like through DOT or should we go through the feds?
It's probably DOT first, and then how it
I think
escalates
it's gonna be
from there.
typical. DOT said this is nothing we can do. It's just the formula that we use, and that's what we get.
Right.
And then we have to go to round,
Okay.
which you've had success in the past.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes talking to the elected officials can unlock some of the bureaucracy for whatever reason. So I guess I'll do my homework and sort of connect and see what we can do about that formula. That certainly it's a big game changer if they just cap our expenses.
Yeah.
It makes it that much harder.
Now we do get, we get capital aid also from state. It's a mixture of state and fed, and then I forget what they call the other one. It's other aid, but that also has not increased with the addition of
Right.
So we did have Ron and I had a conversation with Kathy Eldridge.
Yeah.
And Ron, what was her answer?
She said, absolutely not. I have no interest at all in funding this. She's heard bad things about the program, and I don't know where she got that from. I'm not repeating it all, but but basically, and she blamed a lot of it on the library tax increase and, budget, but anyway, I think last year, we got kind of hit with this at our budget time, and we snuck half of this money into our budget. with the idea that we would go to the two municipalities to benefit from this program, because right now, I feel the county taxpayers fund this for just the residents of Hudson and Greenport. We're the only ones that really can benefit from this at all. So I felt that those two municipalities should pick up what Utopia wasn't paying, you know? And that's still kind of where I stand on it, or, you know, now, but I don't know. And I thought that there'd be more interest from those. And I don't know if you talked to Hudson yet, the city, to see, you know, where we are with that, but,
Is this Utopia's, well, 37,000, is this what the cost is projected to be?
no, that's what they're offering to give us.
That's, they give us, they're paying, it's a formula, so they're paying. It's going down every year. They started at 100, they went to 50, now they're at 30 to 25%.
So just for this expanded one, it cost us, if we funded it, 208,660.
And that's for a year contract, so it's not necessarily 2025, even though that's what I have, but, because it's gonna be a little bit less for the first 3 months, because Utopia's, is reimbursing us more for those first 3 months, and the rate is the old rate, the 12, whatever.
Contract goes in
So
May, August,
Yeah,
March or
the-
something.
on March 8th or whatever, the new contract kicks in with higher rate, and Utopia will be paying a little bit less.
So did you talk to
I
Hudson?
did. So Hudson was interested in chipping in. I pitched it to them as if I was like, if Greenport also chipped in, would you want to chip in? And they were like, yes, we would. It probably feels weirder for them to chip in if Greenport is not, because it makes less sense. So certainly not having the 5311 funds, I didn't know that was happening. So that's like a pretty significant change in the formula, basically, like how what we're anticipating. So Hudson was interested in chipping in if Greenport would. If Greenport is not, I'm not sure if that's off the table.
And I'm not so sure you couldn't work Greenport on that. I mean, this was kind of a
Yeah.
conversation. Kathy walked in the room and I started talking about it. And she seemed to have some knowledge that the funding was going to continue to dwindle from Utopia, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't think I really knew that in the beginning. I thought they were, you know, trying to cover that, but,
I think, well, Utopia, I think in their mind, they were signing up for 1 year to support it, and like.
it was a pilot. I understood
Yeah,
that,
just be able
but
to get them to kind of still contribute, but they weren't gonna contribute at the 100%. that they were.
yeah. They had made it clear last year at this time of year that they were going to cut it back, which is where we probably should have went out earlier and had conversations with both city and Greenport, you know, but here we are.
How much do we charge for the ride?
Dollar.
Is that in the contract? I mean, that we can only charge.
Can we change
No,
that? I
we
was
could
the
change
question
that,
I had.
you know, we charge basically $1 for everything for the Albany runs, but, you know, in mass transportation, the trend is to charge nothing. They're up ridership, so you can take advantage of the reimbursement, so not to charge more, like, you know, it's, you charge more, you might get less. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Is there an average per day cost?
Cost.
Say, we decided to do,
We had to divide the 208 by 365. Period.
What, how many days a week are we doing this now?
7
Yeah,
days a
7
week.
days a week. I think we had explored cutting some days, and I think then Pro Park was like, we
Yeah,
increased
so
our
Pro
costs.
Park, last year we had discussed with them cutting Sundays since that was our least frequented route, but then they just offset that by increasing their per mile rate again, so it didn't actually.
So they hired a full-time driver and then they have another part-time driver, so that wouldn't, their costs are kind of fixed for that, so they're counting on the revenue for 7 days.
So 208,660 divided by 365 comes out to 571.
So it's like a contractor coming in that don't want to do the job, they bid really high.
They're the only bidder, frankly.
Yeah,
I was gonna say that, is it worth trying to go out and rebid this? Or,
well, I think we had one other responder, but it wasn't full response, so we couldn't.
But Johnston's not interested in doing,
It wasn't a year ago or 2 years ago, I don't know.
It's actively not.
so our only choice is to eat this, or absorb it, or just eliminate it, right? Or cut it back radically or whatever.
If we cut it back, Pro Park's not gonna be, they're gonna make what they're gonna make probably. They're gonna increase their their per mile rate probably.
But for $200,000 a year, we could
I
skip
think-
the
I think
federal
it's-
funding and just go out and buy a minivan and
Yeah.
hire a driver and drive around people up. If that's what the county wants to get into, but
Yeah, I guess in my mind, if we had the 5311 funding, because if we had the 5311 funding up to, like, if it wasn't capped, basically we'd get an extra $130,000. So that would be a big game change in terms of the total cost. So in my mind, if we had the 5311 funding, I would be like, it's just a little bit of money, or it's sizable, but it's a lot less than this. If we had a 5311 funding, I would say it's a worthwhile thing, and I'd really push for it. Without it, it is $280,000 for just the extended hours. It ends up being about half of it's probably disproportionate amount of transportation, just this one service.
And the rate we're paying to Pro Park isn't lost on Mike Johnson. And we're
Yeah.
going out to
Right.
bid for his route too.
Right.
He sees that they're paying $12, $13 an hour. We're paying him
Yeah,
$4.50 when we use his bus.
Yeah.
He is very aware of that too.
Built a few of those so far.
yeah.
kind of like.
Based on
negotiating a
any-
contract.
Any new information we get, I would recommend that, I won't say end, but maybe suspend service for the time being, at least, because we're in the middle of a budget process right now too.
Right.
I would say, we have a contract
We have a
until
contract
March
until March.
8th, and we have to give them 60 notice to cancel, but I think if you make a decision relatively soon, we could look at that March, and when the contract ends, it's suspending it then. And
Yeah.
immediately. That way you get
And
notice
maybe
out.
we have time to increase our funding or to convince Hudson and Greenwood to continue to fund, or
We could always rebid it too. So even if it doesn't work now, I would have to rebid it at the end if we were to extend it until March 2026, that's the end of our extensions regardless. So at that point, I would be working on a bid for this next year at some point regardless. So even if we choose not to extend it and we have that gap, it's not like we can't look into it in that year period sort of and just end up on the same sort of track as we were previously. Also, you never know who could win this bid
Pro Park's definitely
cycle.
bidding on.
Yeah, they're 100% gonna be responding to this bid too. So it's not like if we cancel this or don't extend it, it has to be a forever situation. It just might give us the time to figure some things out. And at least the floor plan was sort of built.
Yeah.
I know you said that you talked to, Pro Park about cutting it down and they weren't interested in that. If we cut it down drastically, if it was just 2 or 3 days a week with Johnson, you'd be interested in it if we changed the whole program.
I don't think so.
No, yeah, I think it's the extended hours that really deter him
Because
because,
he's got to hire
and the
somebody else.
drive, yeah.
he
So-
had a hard time finding staff. That was,
Yeah, it was all after hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and then.
Yeah, I'm just asking, I don't know.
I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to ask him if he'd reconsider, but
He will not react.
I don't,
I would be shocked.
especially now that we're talking about the Chatham route too. I think the only reason why he
Yeah.
accepted that is because those are on the 2 days that there's not a route. I think adding a different timeline at all from what's currently being ran is where Mike is.
Mhm.
I mean, the conversations I've had with Mike even this year about what I just put out, like he's not, I would assume that he'll respond, but he's not 100% set on responding even now. So I don't think putting more on the table for that is going to be ineffective.
So if the conversation started today about the 5311, how long would it take, you think, before we get a decision on that? I mean, it's important for somebody to even bid.
with the state and feds, that could be,
March.
Oh, I mean, the answer could be pretty quick.
next March, March 2026.
I mean, when Michael's called before,
Yeah.
it's been pretty quick actually, when he's
Yeah.
gotten pretty quick results, but
That's because Mike's got juice.
Yeah, if we do anything, we're going to take all year.
but the answer could be, it is what it
I
is.
guess it's unpredictable, right? Like some things seem to drag on way longer and then
Yeah.
some things seem to happen really fast. So I guess I would love to get the ceiling raised for 5311, in which case I would make a really strong pitch to be like, let's it's worth it. I know 200,000 is a hard thing to pitch, but 50,000 for us, I think is more reasonable. So I guess what I would like to do.
And the same with going to those other municipalities, I get from.
But how much are you gonna ask Greenport and Hudson for?
It doesn't seem like there was much room in Greenport. I guess it didn't seem like Greenport was gonna budge.
Her answer was pretty
Yeah.
quick and pretty.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, Kathy, she's just, no.
I had several conversations with Kathy, and so, yes, I didn't
I'd
see
like one too.
what.
I would like one.
So I guess I would
She
say,
throws things out there. Half the time.
Yeah. She may not be completely informed on what her residents feel like, so.
so maybe we can say like, maybe we don't make a decision in this moment, but with the understanding that this is not viable, I will sort of do whatever I can to unlock 5311, and hopefully we can figure that out before we have to make like a final budget decision.
So for the time being, based on whatever date, it's March or whatever, it would be suspended unless
Right.
other circumstances. You know, and we can always revisit it.
So you're making a motion to suspend as of March 8th, 2025?
What is that, March 8th, the real date? I didn't say March.
Is that necessary to even do it?
Oh.
Well,
Well, for
the only
budget
thing is,
contributions.
we got lots of the budget's due in 2 weeks, so.
Is the extended service gonna be part of the bid, package?
Separate bid.
No,
Separate. Separate bid?
The new contract would start on March 10th, so March 9th would be the last day of the current contract.
So we would need to give notice to Pro Park January 7th or something like that.
Mhm.
I
We
mean,
can get more than 60. I
Yeah.
don't know if we give them more than 60 days, if they're gonna,
And then
they tell their driver and she finds another job.
Right.
in that, we just have to consider too, if we were to decide that we did want to do this, I still have to get approval from DOT and get it through resolution before we can sign the contract. So that timeline has to
Right.
sort of be considered as well. I would say probably a month for both of those things too. So, yeah.
So it seems unlikely, I guess. I guess either way, I'll move as fast as I can to see what we can get for 5311.
And we can reach out again to the mayor and the
Yeah.
supervisors.
And I think there might be some value in, making it, aware, in reporting that. That once you make it aware that you're canceling the service as of March, there may be some pressure to the city or Greenport to help fund it.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree that it is a program for them, really. isn't
Yeah,
it?
I did hear that there are groups out there that are looking for ways to try to continue it. So-
Yeah.
And I will, say that, when we had the public hearing on the whole transportation project, there was people that came and spoke positively out of this program, It's
I
a
think
small
this
group
is a
for
very
local
vocal
funding,
group.
yeah, it's a big number, but,
This is a very vocal group that wants to ride this bus for some reason, I think.
but it's $200,000 in our budget this year. That's what I'm looking at is,
It's 25 people, so that's a lot.
we're cutting services in other departments around the county because we're trying to pull the budget back in. And I don't think it's right to cut services that we are required to provide to the entire county while we're funding this program. That's,
Right, well, if the 5311 funding comes in, it's just kind of a game changer. Because
It is, it could be, yeah.
$100,000
No, I get that.
to Tens of thousands, so it sort of changes the scale, but I think without 5311.
and I think I thought that was happening in the beginning.
With the 5311, I think Hudson insured with their budget, they put enough money in the contingency account that they don't even target. They just arbitrarily do it. And, but they, at that time in March,
Right.
they could pull out enough
Yeah, okay.
to fund this program. But, have the chat with.
Okay, that's great.
So do we need a motion to? So,
Are you
Yeah.
making that decision now or are you?
Well, Jim needs to do something with the budget sooner than later, right? I mean,
Well, I just need some guidance for the budget so let's say we decide to suspend it, like put it out of the budget and then we reinstate it, would have to be kind of reinstated as, a neutral.
the revenue would have to be.
Right.
For itself. So maybe I take out
That's what,
half of the difference or something and then put it back in, we could.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, could we hold some money as if 5311 was existing
Yeah.
and then see where we go from there?
So maybe I'll just take 100 grand out of the budget and leave 100 in to something like that.
Good time for more, Hitchy and Dee.
Yeah.
So when everybody's busy. this
Yeah,
week.
this is probably a busy time, but maybe that's also the time to ask for stuff.
Yeah. So, I'm sure I'll make a motion that we suspend service pending efforts to try to get additional funding. And should we say that we're gonna leave small amount of money in the budget?
I don't think that needs to be part of this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just guidance for him.
So what do we have so far?
So suspending service as of 3/9/25
Yes.
pending efforts
we
for
did.
additional, for obtaining additional funding.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I,
All opposed?
So the other.
All right.
other items.
I guess I can just run through, all right.
I'm sorry, but you, just to get this clear, Utopia is still gonna be contributing to 37,000.
For 2025, right?
2025.
Well, I guess
Well,
not-
yeah,
not-
well,
There's no service.
That's what I meant.
Yes, right.
If we do it.
If we do it, that's what they're.
So the bottom line would be 208. We have to find enough 5311 to offset most of that, I would think.
Between
everybody pays
Hudson, Greenport,
50,000.
and 5311, make
Right.
some of that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I was under the impression, which I guess I didn't realize we had this cap, is that 5311 kind of gave you 50% of what, like it gave you half of what you've spent.
That's, we kind of, but they have given us aid, but it's been constant.
Yeah.
So we get the 82 grand every
Yeah.
year, but we also get, I forget what they call it, we just approved, we get 5311 and that's around 260, something like that, but it's for a 2-year window or 3-year window.
Okay.
And that's like 270. And so that's another one that just increased a little bit, no relationship to this route.
Even though they have this formula that you submit, they just give us something back less than our formula.
And when we do our annual report, it basically backs you into just saying, all I need is 82.
Okay.
So no matter what your costs are, it makes you offset it with local funds.
Oh, okay.
So you're only getting the 82.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Cause that would have been, that would have been like more than $100,000 for 5311. If, I guess using the formula that I thought we had.
Yeah, we all thought that it would increase when we added this, but just that hasn't worked out.
Yeah. So that's a big difference maker, because that basically would have been half the cost would have been written off by the funds. So the other things I thought we should go through is I think we're about to submit our bid for the regular shopping federal hours, right? I think we're all set for that. We have GFT approval.
For the regular, those bids come in on November 13th.
Okay.
I believe. So yeah, on November 13th, we'll have the bid opening. We'll see what everyone bid. We'll figure out what we want to do. And then whatever we decide, I'll have to submit to DOT for their approval.
Cool. And then the fleet, we have one bus that we ordered at the beginning of the year that's due by the end of the year. We have one bus that we have ordered with ARPA funds that's due at the end of next year.
Yeah, like
And then-
fourth quarter next year.
Really? That long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a calendar year.
Yeah.
And then we have one more in the budget for next year that we have capital funds from the state feds to pay for that one next year. But we'll order that one.
We'll start
We
with
don't
that.
want them all, we don't want them all the same age. We
Yeah.
don't want that problem again. So I think we said we'd order it springtime.
Yeah, probably like March-ish, April-ish of next year, we'll go ahead and like start the process of purchasing that bus.
And the cost of that, like they were
Yeah, it was-
170, I think when we, a couple of years ago, now they're 220 something.
yeah, so between the
These
contract
EV?
pricing. Then no one even bids on that. There's no award for EV public transportation buses right now. They did put a bid out for it, but there's
If
no.
they were
response.
EV Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that would be, yeah, I think the total bus is like 226 this time versus like what, 170 we were previously.
Look what we're paying for tandem trucks or highway, you know, look at the same numbers. Crazy.
Try ordering an ambulance or a fire.
Yeah, right, yeah.
2 years out, 3 years out.
Yep.
And do you need any help setting that up, or we're good with DOT to do that order?
Yeah, we should be fine, for the next order come March. They've been better. Now we have a new rep though, which makes me a little nervous. But we should be able to get approval on that. And I think Jim and I have done it a few times now that should be able to get everything through the way it's intended to be through. So,
Good.
yeah, I think we'll be pretty smooth sailing unless there's a contract, then
So that,
for the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the only potential hiccup. If we were to have to, an extension, yeah, so that would be the only potential
probably
hiccup.
just, yeah.
So, yeah, well, the fleet's getting old, so the next, the time we're getting the one now, and by the time we get to one next year, and then another, they're gonna be pushing it higher.
Yeah, we're gonna, this
Yeah.
next couple of years can be figured out, but then we'll have like three relatively new buses.
Yeah, I think we've done better about spacing it,
Yeah.
at least a little bit. So if we can get and continue the timeline of like one purchase
per
a
year.
year, maybe 1.5 every like odd year in
Yeah.
there, that's gonna put us in a better situation than we are currently, where 3 buses are all gonna sort of hit their mark at the same exact time.
That was due to COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, it was all COVID, yeah. I think a lot of the
COVID.
increases were COVID though, a lot
Yeah.
of the.
No, because we can, that's what it is.
Right.
Because we can, you know.
COVID's fault.
Good word, though.
And then I thought it was worth checking in about the Chatham route. I think the last time we met, we talked about these scenarios around the Chatham route, so that like in our bid, which I guess we could always amend, the place that we decide to go is with the 2 days of service that we don't currently have on the county routes. We just sort of added that into the bid.
Yeah.
I have talked to our assembly member and our senator who pointed me towards DOT, and DOT said that they will get us some paperwork, but the grant is going, the $200,000 line item from the state budget will be administered through DOT, and DOT basically will apply similar to, they said that similar to our STOA application, which is the way we get state aid now. We would sort of give a similar report that gives like cost, mileage, and ridership, except for the formula for reimbursement would be 100%. Rather than, they want us to report on riders and miles, but they, like, the reimbursement is unrelated. That's for accountability. They said that like for that route, they would just give it 100% reimbursement quarterly. So it sounds like they seem to think that that'd be a fairly easy reporting process. So I think that's good news. Right now, I'm working with the supervisors who are like impacted by the route to sort of do their surveying. That we have like a survey for people to ask, basically like, we're planning on doing this. Would you ride the bus like this?
Well, I'm thinking, was it part of the Chatham route thinking that they were gonna piggyback and those people would transfer over to the shopping shuttle?
We looked at that as an option, and so I think we're gonna do a little bit of a hybrid where the route would basically go from Chatham to Hudson to Greenport and then do a quick loop back. And then basically try to have it do 2 loops in that like 9 to 2 window. I guess looking at the way that the transfers weren't that smooth if they had to ride the Hudson shopping shuttle, because it just like the transfers, like the timing of it didn't work that well. So it seemed easier just to have it go up and down Fairview rather than sort of having to connect to the shopping shuttle. And so I guess depending on, assuming the DOT does actually deliver this contract that they say they're gonna have, and we get riders saying yes, they're interested, then I think we would pilot this program in April with this 100% reimbursement.
It's good news that it's going through DOT rather than Tasney or something like that, which would have been like.
Yeah,
That's be a nightmare.
that's harder.
The application process is ongoing forever, and then you can't do anything until you have it.
Right, you gotta lock it up.
Okay.
So this is good. It's
Yeah.
actually good that it's going.
Yeah, they were referencing like another place in New York State that had like a similar line item that DOT was modeling it after, that they seemed to think that it was quite easy, and they were just kind of like, whatever you want to do. Like, their only thing the person I talked to like wasn't totally sure was they thought that we might still need like DOT approval for our bid process. if we were doing it. And then I was like, well, it's already lumped into a DOT approved bid. And then they were like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So it seems like we've already gone through the hurdle, like the DOT hurdles, the
Yeah.
reimbursement should be fairly
Yeah,
easy.
so yeah, I just added, like I took the projected hours, to protect the projected extra miles and put language into the bid and the routes that this was something that is anticipated to start in April, but that we have full rights to do it that way. So it was included in those documents approved by DOT, so we should be fine. Good to go. And then we don't have to, like with Pro Park, have these separate bids for everything. Then we don't get clocked because Johnston was aware of it and other potential respondents who were not. So,
Isn't that the political way of doing it, though? You fund it, then you promote it, and then you ask if
Then you
anybody,
figure out how you can do it, you know, right?
you ask if anybody wants it.
Right, yeah.
Are you charging for, is there gonna be a dollar fee for the Chatham bid, or is that?
I haven't actually thought about it, whether we should charge it $1 or not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of me is like, my guess is that people ride it either way. Like $1 is so small, it probably doesn't matter, but maybe there's something about a free ride that more people ride it.
Do we charge for the other county roads?
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta charge.
Right, so we may as well just be
Open,
consistent.
but you gotta charge. Equal to.
That,
Yeah.
because we'll have
Right,
a price.
right. I guess we may as well charge $1 across the
Yeah,
board.
Greenport will be,
Because I think the grant funding was just to help facilitate this. It wasn't clearly saying that it was gonna fund it all, right? So, those riders should be willing to pay, or what did the grant say? I forgot.
Well, the grant, I think, is super vague.
Yeah.
So the way that,
It's a political promise, right?
right, the way that, I think the way that DOT described it to me was that just like whatever 100% of our costs are, they
Or
will.
however long we want.
But as far as the memorandum, you know, money, if that was indicated that it was gonna cover all of it.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like if we didn't charge, we could, I guess it's like the money would go long, like we could reimburse, we're gonna get the same reimbursement whether or not we charge $1 or not. I guess my inclination is that if people can't ride because it costs $1, it's probably worth it just to have them ride. Part of the justification for their service is that like DSS maybe doesn't have to like provide rides to people if they can do this. So like if there are people who can't ride because of the $1, it's worth figuring out how to get them on, especially because the state's gonna reimburse us 100% either way. My guess is that most people can pay the $1, but I guess it's worth, if we got a lot of people saying I can't ride.
I would
that's
just like
$1.
to see it keep the same as our other programs.
Yeah.
So,
I think that makes sense too.
and you're gonna say, well, why don't we drop it for copay?
I think it's like the state gives us I mean, for the other routes, the state gives us $1 for everybody who rides. So like if you made it free and then your ridership increased, you might end up in the same place. I think that would be the question, is that like, would more people ride if it was free? And I guess I don't really know the answer to that. But I guess I'm in favor of just charging $1 for consistency and seeing what kind of feedback we get from that.
Set $1 each way or round trip?
What's it? I said, what's a Germantown one?
Just don't let them go back.
What was it?
Round trip.
The county one is $1 round trip. How you keep track of who's been on.
That's, I mean, they know who it is, I think, so few people.
Yeah. Well, that would be the thing for the county, is that if we made it free and then you marked a rider per entrance, you would double your ride. Because right now, if someone gets on the county bus in Copeg, they ride it to Greenport, and they get back on the bus in Greenport and ride to Copeg, we count that as one rider and they paid $1. And if you made it free and they rode from Copeg to Hudson, that's one rider. And they got back on in Hudson and rode back to Copeg, that's two riders. And the state would give us $2.
Maybe. I don't
The
know.
way the shopping shuttle works is you get on in Hudson and you ride to Walmart, you pay $1, and then you get on a Walmart, you ride back to Hudson, that's another $1. So like, if we made the county route, like most buses, every time you get on, that's a rider. So if we made it free, but then counted it as a ride per ride, we would make the same amount of money.
We can ask you.
I think he is right though, because that's when some of the other counties have moved it to free. Like we have seen other counties do that.
The driver.
You know, who's keeping
Yeah,
track? It's the same person.
They know, it's all the same.
It's so such a small number of people. So I think it's worth exploring for the county route, but it's also worth being consistent across all the routes.
We can ask.
Okay,
We can ask.
all right, well, we can add it to our DOT question list.
I think he is right though that. I forget which county it was, but they dropped theirs to being free for everything and they were still getting just as much back because they counted it in such a way. So they were receiving the same thing, whether someone was paying $1 or nothing and contributing it that way. Yeah, we have seen some places doing that.
I think we might get it. I forget the store one. Is it $1.15 for the
That's-
figure,
that's-
like about that.
that's for you.
68 cents.
Oh, maybe 68 cents, right?
Yeah,
So
68
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so I-
not a full.
I was
yeah.
doing wrong.
But we still make $1.30.
So we get there
Instead of
cents more,
$1.
right?
Well, right now, I guess right now we make $1.68 or something. Because we get our dollar plus the DOT 68 cents. But it's basic, we'd end up basically at the same place. So. That's maybe for another day.
It's a moneymaker.
No, this is a money maker.
Yeah. I think that's it. Anything else? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. All.
Good, yep.
All right. Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I-
All opposed?
Anybody